Could you please explain to people what feudalism is and what parallels you see between the system before and the one we're moving in today?
Well, of course, this is a very different feudalism. You're not going to have people going down the middle of, Oxford Street with a chain mail and a broadsword. But here are the similarities. And I thought actually in your intro, you sort of got it pretty right. We have been through a period, I would say, with ups and downs over the last, up until about 1970, 1980, in which economic opportunity had increased and to some extent class divisions had decreased during the period that went into the 70s or 80s. And that has changed dramatically. Now the share of wealth controlled by a small group of people has grown and now is growing even more rapidly with the rise of the tech oligarchy. So that's one thing. The other thing is we have a real loss of people wanting to look forward to the future, to have children. We've had the tremendous demographic shift, very much like the Middle Ages, where actually population really didn't grow for a very long period of time. And then I think a very important part of it is ideologically. The Middle Ages was really an era of orthodoxy. And if you weren't orthodox, you were in big trouble if you didn't follow the party line. Well, it sounds sort of similar to what we have today. So I think that there are so many different parallels, but those are three of the major ones.
How do you think we've got to this point? How have we allowed, in your view, our societies to move in this direction?
Well, I think part of it has been that we've allowed the capital markets to operate pretty much with impunity. And then when they got in trouble from screwing up, we bailed them out. So they were able to consolidate their position. What should have been an opportunity to disperse wealth and power, we actually concentrated it. This is after the great financial crisis. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest causes of why we have so much of this concentration. And then there's a very interesting thing here in California, where I live. We have a really strange situation. We have a small group of very large companies, plus a bunch of venture capital firms who have made a fortune, and in aggregate terms have really made California, in many ways, some of the best, maybe the best economy in many ways in the world. But at the same time, we have the highest poverty rate. We have the highest overcrowding rate. We have about the lowest home ownership rate. So what we may be seeing is a kind of feudalistic high-tech capitalism where a very small group of people really control pretty much everything. I mean, what's really scary in some ways is the tech oligarchs, who have not been regulated to a very large extent, are essentially moving into virtually every field of endeavor: finance, space, the cars, and they have money. When you have a company like Apple with $3 trillion value, we've never seen anything like this. The easiest parallel might be, Gilded Age around 1900. But one of the things is that those industrialists, they might have been jerks, but they also employed lots of people. And you know what? They didn't control the movie industry, and they didn't control the newspapers, and they didn't control most of the broadcast media. This is very frightening stuff. And, frankly, I don't care if it's right or left. Concentration of power, as a very wise English person once said, is dangerous, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that is exactly what we're seeing.